Welcome to CHD 204. I'm Ms. Murph, and I'm happy that you've joined me for this course. Throughout this semester, we will discuss how you can create learning experiences using developmentally appropriate techniques, materials, and realistic expectations for your future classrooms. As early childhood teachers, you will be engaged in a remarkable endeavor, guiding our youngest learners through their very first learning experience. Throughout this semester, we will discuss ideas to create a self-directed learning experience. We will discuss ideas for setting up your classroom as an active learning environment where children of all backgrounds, ethnicities, and abilities have the opportunity to explore their ideas and to learn. So join me, Mrs. Murph, as we learn all about the self-directed learning environment. Before we get started with how to set up a self-directed learning environment, we need to know what our expectations are for the students. What do we plan to teach them? And how will we get that done? What we first must know is called curriculum. Curriculum is defined as what we teach and how we teach it. In order to effectively plan curriculum, the faculty and staff must come together to brainstorm the methods that will best fit the students in their center. This is called curriculum planning. Curriculum planning allows for teachers to predict and prepare for upcoming events, helps the parents and staff to understand what's going to be taught, increases opportunities for staff interaction, and also helps the staff use their time more effectively. Research tells us that the more direct involvement young children have with learning activities, the more effectively they learn. Piaget and Vygotsky, our cognitive psychologists, pioneered the way by telling us that children learn best by doing. They need to be actively engaged in playful sensory exploration of materials and activities. Because young children learn best through play, play is their chief method of thinking through things and solving problems. You may say that play is a child's work. You may be asking yourself, how in the world do I do all of this? How do I plan? What do I use as a guide? In order to answer these questions, we will need to take a look at what NAEYC, or the National Association for the Education of Young Children, tells us about a developmentally appropriate curriculum. The term developmentally appropriate refers to the practice of making a curriculum based on what students are able to do cognitively, physically, and emotionally at a certain age. Of course, not all children develop at the same rate, so often there will be a range of abilities to consider when planning your developmentally appropriate curriculum. In the best case scenario, teachers are able to personalize the way they teach the same concepts to each child. The goal of using developmentally appropriate techniques is to give young children an ideal learning environment. In 1986, NAEYC, Early Childhood's principal professional organization, issued a position statement on developmentally appropriate practice in early childhood education. This statement provides a framework for what is appropriate in terms of curriculum, learning activities, adult-child interaction, home program relations, and the evaluation of child development. According to the National Association for the Education of Young Children, there are three main areas to consider when tailoring developmentally appropriate curriculum. First, knowing what is expected at each stage of a young child's development is important and informs decisions about best practices. Another key factor is knowing what is appropriate for each individual child. Watching children play will give you insight into their progress and abilities. Also, NAEYC strongly recommends basing decisions about what is developmentally appropriate for a child based on their cultural and family background. The position statement written in 1986 by NAEYC was done in an effort to bring attention to the fact that preschool-age children had not developed physically or cognitively enough to benefit from a formal academic instruction. They learned through play. Workbooks and worksheets were beginning to appear in preschool programs. Teacher-directed activities were beginning to replace children's free play in many programs. Even today, many educators fail to understand the essential role of play in young children's development and learning. For young children, play is spontaneous, open-ended, multisensory, and is a process-oriented activity. So, in order to provide a curriculum that addresses the needs of individual youngsters in this appropriate manner, we will need to create a self-directed learning environment. That means we must set up an environment that allows children to, number one, know what activities are available to them, number two, make their own choices about which activities they want to participate in, and number three, get deeply involved in their own learning. It is the learning environment itself that is the foundation of the curriculum in a well-planned classroom. The choice and arrangement of the equipment and materials set the stage for whatever is to happen. Wise teachers arrange the environment so that the children can direct their energies into the learning centers that are of the greatest interest to them. Then teachers let the learning centers do the teaching through the children's exploration of the materials and the activities that are provided. We must arrange this type of environment carefully so that children can use it on their own without too much direction on our part. We must make sure that it contains materials and activities that are developmentally appropriate for the wide range of interests and abilities. The most efficient, effective way to accomplish the self-directed learning environment we've been talking about is to set up learning centers. When set up appropriately, the learning centers will guide the children and let them know the purpose based on the materials and the activities that are included in the center. Learning centers provide children with opportunities to explore, experiment, and construct their own knowledge. Here are the learning centers we will discuss throughout this course. Learning centers offer children opportunities for movement, socialization, choice making, and and problem solving. So, now you will need to set up your self-directed learning centers. How will you do it? Here are the steps you will take. Number one, become aware of the curriculum areas your particular program supports. And typically, programs support the list that you see on your screen. You will convert these curriculum or child development topics into learning centers. That means you must plan your physical space and arrange your classroom. So in an effort to know how to do that, I want you to take just a little bit of time to read in your textbook section 1-7B through 1-9 to learn more about this process. Thanks for joining me as we look further into what a self-directed learning environment looks like and what it offers children. I hope you learned that it provides opportunities for learning by offering appropriately arranged learning centers that are responsive to the individual child's interests and needs. With this setting in place, the children can begin their exciting learning adventure by creating their own knowledge through interaction with the people and materials in their environment. Join me again next week when we will take a look at what the teacher's role is in the self-directed learning environment.